Oh, be so good. Be so good. Go in. Woo! What a hot way to start that off. What is up, my fellow frolfers? We're back here at Max Roper Park. We're playing the back nine here. Gonna see how well we can shoot. We just filmed another video, if you guys want to check that out. I did the front nine forehand only. Shot pretty well. Still frustrated with the forehand. Still working on it. But we'll get there. Man, an ace would have been an awesome way to start this video off. But definitely can't complain with bullseye birdies. So with that, we're down one already on the first. This is a hole 11. It's par 4. It's definitely one of the prettier holes on the course. You've got a relatively small window to hit. Definitely a very easy to hit window, but it's also very easy to hit one of those early trees and fall into that creek. They did actually add a pedestal for the basket on this one. It's pretty cool. Oh, it's turning on me. Must be a headwind on the other side. Oh, geez. We've got a long ways to go. Good thing it's par 4. So as I'm sure most of you guys know, the Worlds tournament just ended. Congrats to Kristen Tatar for absolute dominant performance. With that being said, I just want to address it. I genuinely feel like we are seeing the Tiger Woods of disc golf on the women's side right now with Kristen Tatar. She is just so much better than her competition that when she wins by that many strokes and when she makes it look that easy, it just reminds me of the days of early 2000s. I mean, even the 2010s too, just watching Tiger Woods just dominate the field. It's just, I feel like we're seeing something awesome for our sport that we really need it. We really need something to help promote this sport and make it grow. And I think adding the women's side of it and get some more attention there is only going to bring more attention to the men's side as well. So I think it's fucking great for the game. Oh man, that wind is pushing it. Sit down. Gosh, this wind is wild today. Now there's definitely some headwind on the other side of that tunnel, like I thought. That flipped that stag over and kind of turned it into a burner almost. But that's one thing I found really interesting about the stag is I don't feel like it's anywhere near the flight numbers that it is. I think it's an 8.603 or -1.3. Either way, it's supposed to be a pretty stable driver, but it's definitely a lot more understable for me. And in this last tournament I just played, one of the guys on my card was throwing a bunch of stags, and 2 or 3 of them he was throwing, they were turning over even more than mine do. I do love that disc, but it's one that I definitely think the numbers are nowhere near correct. We do have another birdie look. Definitely not the best birdie look, but this is a makeable putt. And we hit the band. Player 2. Hey, we had it. We had it in us. A little bit of a frustrating part to take there, but when you make that second putt for that birdie, it at least feels good that you had that in you. So we're still one down on the first 2 holes. So this hole definitely appeals a lot to throwing this stag and getting it to turn over a little bit, but there is a creek down back behind. And with as glidey as this thing is, it does worry me a little bit that it'll just keep gliding right over the edge and end up in that creek. I'm going to try to just take a little bit off of it and get it to die, but I also could see myself throwing a forehand raptor here and just trying to get out and around, but there's a lot of guardian trees, a lot of options here of what I could do. It's right at 300 feet. I think I'm just going to go with the old faithful and throw the stag. Now fade on back. We might be a little long, but I think I did see it skip. I'd really like to find a 10 or 11 speed or so that has the same kind of flight characteristics as that stag. I've thrown a Wraith for a really long time, and I do like that disc, but it doesn't seem to have quite as much of an S flight as this stag does. And the effortless power is really what I love about the stag. I feel like I can just hardly put anything on it, and it's an easy 300-foot disc for me. I have a lot more control. I love using it for tunnel shots because, like I said, I just feel like I can throw it like a putter upshot, and it goes 300 plus. Sometimes I feel like I throw this stag too much. I feel like it's the only disc I ever like to throw, but when you're parked for birdie like this, it's really hard not to keep throwing it. I just really love this disc. So here's 13's basket. It's across that creek. between these two big trees, and the tee pad, not this one, this is the red tee pad, the blue is way back here. Definitely a tough hole. So this pin is in the furthest position, so it is playing as a par 4 today. Come on, fade on back. Fade on back, give me a window. Oh man, we pulled our drive and it's gonna be tough to get across the creek. When there isn't this wind, this crazy headwind, you can actually shoot all the way across the creek in your first shot, but that's just way too risky of a play on a game like, on a day like today, with how hard that wind is pushing. But by laying up in the wrong spot, we still screwed ourselves. So thankfully we do have a window to get across the creek at least, but not a window at the basket. So it is gonna make a birdie extremely tough. It's gonna be a long putt if anything, but at least we've got a chance to save our par still. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. Got a nasty headwind, a little bit of a crosswind. It's just swirling out here. Hopefully the audio is not too bad for you guys. A new mic is actually going to be delivered this week. Woo! Thought we were going to hit the flag there for a second. So with that, we're still 2 down. Another par there. And on to my favorite hole of the course. At least it used to be. This hole just has a lot of nostalgia for me. Like I said, there used to be that huge tree there, but more importantly, it's a very elevated tee shot. I think it's only 265. Yeah, 265 to this particular basket. But when I first started playing, this used to be where I would lose nukes, destroyers, wraiths. Like, I was throwing high-speed drivers just to try to clear this crap before I had any idea what I was doing. My form was god-awful. It always makes me chuckle when I come back to this hole to remember how far I've came. Can we ace it? Can we ace it? Oh, just a little short. Great shot though. So here's that stump of that massive tree. They actually used to have a pin in this thing. You can see it finally rotted out, so they had to move it over to the side over here. But there's our shot. That's where we're parked for a bird. Oh, the old Nebraska flip. Another birdie, 3 down. I gotta say, it feels really good to birdie that hole when what feels like just a few short years ago, I struggled to even clear the gap. All right, guys, we've got a strong headwind. We've got the interstate next to us, so I apologize if any of that noise is disturbing you. But then also, to top it off, I don't actually know where the basket is. I'm assuming it's in the A position, which is tucked over to the left, just because I can't see it. But really, our main thing here is we want to stay in play, both not go over this fence, but also not end up in all that crap, because that disc will be gone forever. Oh, and we've nailed it. Absolutely piped. That'll work perfect. And that headwind, I'm very happy with that. Another tough par 3 here. Unfortunately, don't have a putt at it, so we're just going to try to get it close to get our par. Just like that. Skip on up there. A little short, but definitely should be a makeable putt. So my putting game has really been frustrating me lately. In this last tournament I played, I think I actually only missed 1 putt. So bear with me for a second, I'll explain why. That felt really good. But it feels like I just haven't been able to commit to a form that I'm confident in. I've always been more of a push style putter, and lately I've actually started developing a spin putt. For a while there, I was kind of a spush putter. I was kind of doing a little bit of both. But what I'm trying to do now is develop a spin putt, because on days like today, with as windy as it is, I'm having a lot of putts that would fly away, whereas I'm making a lot of putts today. I'm happy with it, and it's that spin putt technique that's really been doing that for me. So I definitely want to talk a little bit more about the putting, but I'm going to wait till we get to the next hole where it's a little bit quieter. We get away from this interstate over here. This is a pretty easy, straightforward hole. It's only 230 feet in this particular location. You do not want to end up right. You will lose a disc in there. I've lost countless. You don't want to end up in there. It's a swamp. This tee pad is actually really overgrown too. I'm kind of surprised. You know, and because of that right stuff over there, I'm actually going to switch to the zone instead of the buzz, just to have a little bit more stability, keep me out of there. That should be nice. Ah, a little air bounce, killed it. Started to really lose some speed there with that wind. All right, while it is a long one, we at least have a chance to go 4 under here with this birdie putt. Never gave it a chance. Holy crap. There it is. Oh, it's all right. We'll take another par. I'd love to hear how long you guys have all been playing. I consider myself kind of a hybrid. I'm a little bit of an old head and a little bit of the COVID boomers kids too. I've been playing for a long time, but I really didn't start taking it seriously until the last, I don't know, year or two is when I really actually started working on my form. But I think what COVID did was great for this sport. A lot more people got into this game. It's growing a lot. Even just the fact that there's so many more courses available is something that I never thought I'd see, and I'm really enjoying it. I've been struggling a bit with this distance. We got 363 straight ahead, but we've got a substantial headwind. I don't know if the mic's picking it up. Hopefully not too bad. But I've been really struggling with finding a disc that I trust in the wind. Oh, edit that out. But I've been struggling to find a disc that I can trust in a strong headwind, that I can still get reliable distance and doesn't fade too hard. It's asking a lot of a disc, but I need that stability to be able to hold straight in the wind. But at the same time, I don't want that stability to where it just dumps at the end because it loses so much speed into that headwind. Let me know what you guys are using for a shot like this, and I'd love to try out something new. For now, I'm going to throw my old baby, this beat up Star Wraith, see if we can flip it up a little bit, punch out there. Well, that's definitely nice. Short, but nice. Oh, skipped into the fairway. Yeah, I mean, I think we maybe got 300 feet out of that. I definitely don't claim to be a far thrower. It's something that I'm actively trying to improve my game on, is to get more distance. But I do feel like I throw further than your average casual player, for example. I'm by no means pro level, by no means throwing as far as a lot of guys do, but I throw further than your average player. But I've been really having this hole in my bag with this 350-ish shot into a headwind. 350 is something that I can comfortably, consistently put into a pretty accurate zone. But when you add that headwind into it, I just can't seem to find a disc that I like for it, that I can trust for it, that I can really put that extra oomph into to actually get it there. It either just fades way too hard, or if I get something that's not as stable, it ends up flipping on me. So here's an example of a shot where I'm trying to develop that spin putt for one, just distance-wise. For two, not really affected by this low ceiling, but if I were to try to push putt this, by the time it would come down out of the height that I would need, it would definitely hit that tree. So I really need to push putt this, or excuse me, spin putt this, and just really try to get it close. And honestly, that was just a terrible example of a spin putt and why I'm actively working on it. So I know it's easy to say when you do have the money for it, but I can't recommend enough for everybody to have a basket at their own house. If you live in an apartment, if you just don't have the money for it, trust me, I get it. Not everybody can do that. But for a long time, I just avoided getting a basket. For a long time, I just avoided getting a basket because of the cost factor mostly. And I just told myself, oh, I can just drive to the course and practice putting. Nobody likes to do that. Nobody likes to go and look and see the guys chucking frisbees far and having a grand old time, and you're the one guy over there just putt away. It gets boring. Having it at my house, it reminds me kind of as a child, because as a kid, my neighbors had a basketball hoop in their driveway, so it was really easy to get better at basketball because I went outside every day and shot hoops for fun. It's kind of the same kind of thing having a basket at your own house. Now that I have a basket at my own house, if I'm just sitting there bored, I go outside and throw a few putts. What I've been really trying to do is try to make sure I throw even just 15 putts a day. I've got 3 of the Wardens that I throw, so 5 rounds of those, which takes less than 10 minutes. 15 putts a day makes a huge difference. But for years, I've used more of a push putt style approach, more of a lifting action of the disc. You can see as I come down, I'm lifting that disc up a lot. So it requires a lot more height to be able to get to the basket. It's more of like a basketball shot where it actually glides up and then falls back down into the basket. Whereas a spin putt is a lot more penetrating, which is great for a couple reasons. For one, especially out here, like on a day like today with as windy as it is, my push putts, if I float that thing up there, sometimes that wind will just blow it into twice as far as from where I put it from. That spin putt will penetrate through that wind a lot better. And it really just digs into the chains, and it's a more confident putt in my opinion. The other big advantage I find spin putts have is when you're dealing with a low ceiling. A lot of baskets nowadays seem to be placed underneath trees, much like this one. There just seems to be a lot of times where the tree is guarding that basket to the point where a floaty push putt just can't make it in. You need a more direct flight to be able to get it in there. So something that I've really been working on with my spin putting and has helped me a lot is to actually tilt the disc downwards to cock my wrist. So obviously it's a lot of wrist flick. And what I found myself doing before, I would come back like this, like my typical push putt, and then it would cause me to release it real high, and it wouldn't give me that penetrating flight that I really want. By angling the disc down at first, forces me to pronate my wrist down. So with a spin putt, you're gonna finish more down like this, whereas a push putt, you're gonna end more palm up. So for years, I've really just focused on a palm up release like that, whereas a spin putt, you've gotta have more of a palm down to get that spin. So thankfully, we've actually got a guy mowing out here on the fairway, so I'm gonna let him pass. But as far as the putting goes, what I've really been just trying to do is be able to have a strong game of both push and spin putt. I feel like generally that push putt is just a more athletic, more natural motion for me, which I enjoy. But there are times when it just doesn't work. So I'd like to have both in the bag. Kind of goes back to like I love having a backhand and a forehand game. Just really opens up the course for you. You don't find yourself pinned in bad positions near as often. Turned over way too hard. Oh, I caught up in that tree. So my primary focus on practice lately has been to really try to round out my game, try to build up those weaknesses to make them as strong as my strong points. This headwind is nuts, guys. I'd love to know what you guys are working on, what you're trying to improve in your game. Like I said, I have multiple things that I'm working on, and there's nothing wrong with focusing on one thing or focusing on multiple things. But I'm really trying to just round my game out and I have a more versatile bag. As always, guys, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you, and I'm excited to see you guys in the next one. Peace.